Welcome back. It is Tuesday, February 17th, 2026.
It's good to be here.
Today, we are opening up a topic that I think it sits right at the center of why so many of our best plans just fall apart.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been there.
You've been there, right?
Yeah.
You're standing at the bottom of a massive project or maybe a new habit or a big career change, and it just feels like you're staring up a cliff face.
It feels impossible. You try to start, and it's like grinding gears. It's just heavy.
It is heavy, it's slow, and you feel like you are pushing a boulder uphill.
And that's the universal experience of what's called static friction. And honestly, it's usually where people quit.
Yeah.
They feel that initial weight, and they assume the whole journey is going to feel just as heavy.
Exactly. But then, on the flip side, you have those rare sort of golden moments where you're just flying.
When you're in the zone.
You're in the zone. Work just happens. Decisions feel easy. You look up and realize you've done a week's worth of progress in a single morning. We call that momentum.
We do.
Yeah.
And we usually treat it like it's some kind of, accidental magic.
Right, like the stars just aligned, or we just happen to have the right amount of coffee that day.
But the stack of research we're looking at today argues that it is not magic at all. It's mechanics.
It's physics.
It is. It's physics. And most importantly, it's a strategy you can actually engineer.
And that is the mission for this discussion. We're going to take momentum out of that mystical vibes category and put it into a structural framework. We're pulling from a really interesting mix of sources today. We've got the ancient military strategy of Sun Tzu, specifically Chapter 5 of The Art of War.
And we're pairing that with modern behavioral science on habit formation.
We've also got some Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius, and even a little wisdom literature from Ecclesiastes.
It sounds like a strange mix, but they all converge on one central image. And it's Sun Tzu who gives us this metaphor of a round stone on a mountain.
I really want to spend some time on that image because it anchors everything we're going to talk about.
It's a perfect visual for the physics of it. Sun Tzu says essentially to look at a stone.
Okay.
If it's on level ground, it's static. It stays put. If the stone is square, well, it stops. But if the stone is round and you place it on a steep slope,
then movement becomes inevitable.
exactly, it rushes down with the force of a torrent.
And the critical thing there, the thing that really stood out to me, is that the stone itself did not change.
No,
It didn't go to the gym. It didn't get a pep talk. It is the exact same stone.
precisely. The nature of the stone remains constant. What changed was its position and the environment.
And that's the core argument we're going to unpack today. Success doesn't usually come from pushing harder or from brute force.
No, it's not about willpower.
It comes from positioning and physics,
Yeah,
which is a huge relief, honestly, because the alternative is just try harder, and I think we're all tired of hearing that.
try harder is just a recipe for burnout.
Yeah.
What we're going to define here is momentum as the strategic management of energy.
Okay, I like that. The management of energy.
It's about understanding timing and friction and positioning so that progress becomes the default state instead of a constant struggle.
I am ready to get that stone rolling. But before we jump into the physics of it all, I have a specific request for you listening right now. If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one.
It really does help us keep these discussions going.
Okay, so let's start by defining our terms. We want to define momentum in plain English. We've mentioned the stone, but how do we translate that to our actual lives?
What's the functional definition? Yeah.
What is it?
In plain English, momentum is just when progress becomes easier after movement starts.
Okay.
It's that phenomenon where the cost of effort actually goes down the faster you go.
So the first mile is the most expensive, but the second mile is cheap.
Exactly. But the problem, the reason we're even having this discussion, is getting started
Or keeping it going.
or keeping it going when things get tough. The problem is friction. Friction is the enemy of momentum. And most people, when they encounter friction, whether that's a difficult email or a confused team or just their own procrastination,
Their instinct is to just push harder.
right, they try to force their way through the friction.
The whole hustle mindset, just grind it out, break
Totally.
through the wall.
Exactly. And what our sources, from Sun Tzu all the way to modern cognitive science, tell us is that forcing is incredibly expensive.
It's inefficient.
So inefficient, it just leads to burnout. So the solution we're exploring is using timing to change the cost of effort.
Timing changes the cost of effort. I love that phrasing. It makes it sound like an economic equation.
It is an economic equation. If you act at the right moment, a small action can produce a massive result.
And if you act at the wrong moment.
Even massive effort yields nothing. You just spin your wheels.
So let's dive into that cost aspect. We're looking at section 1 of our analysis here, the physics of energy. You said forcing is expensive. Sun Tzu actually puts a literal price tag on this, doesn't he?
He does, and it's fascinating because we usually think of The Art of War as this, very philosophical book about grand battles.
Right.
But in Chapter 2, Waging War, he sounds like a chief financial officer. He's looking at the budget.
He is. He's doing the accounting.
He is. He says that to raise an army of 100,000 men with all the chariots and supplies to go 1,000, ancient measure of distance, it costs 1,000 ounces of silver per day.
1,000 ounces of silver a day. That is an insane burn rate.
It's a massive burn rate.
Yeah.
And his point is that prolonged struggle is disastrous. He writes, there is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare.
So if you're dragging it out, you're just draining the treasury.
You're draining the treasury, you're dulling the weapons, and you're dampening the morale of your own troops. You're losing on every front.
I think this is such a powerful critique of our modern grind culture. We tend to glorify the struggle. We think if we're suffering, we must be doing something important.
Yes, that's so true.
But Sun Tzu is saying if you're suffering for a long time, you're just bleeding silver.
You're bankrupting your own energy reserves. And if we translate that to today, to our lives, if you're in a state of constant struggle with a project or a habit, you are bleeding silver.
You're burning through your emotional energy, your focus.
And eventually you go broke. You quit.
So forcing is the uphill work. It consumes resources. Momentum is the downhill work. It generates, or at least conserves, energy.
Right. And this brings us to the distinction that Sun Tzu makes in Chapter 5 between potential and kinetic energy. He uses a very specific mechanical metaphor for this.
The crossbow. I found this visualization really, really helpful for understanding patience.
It's perfect, isn't it? He says energy may be likened to the bending of a crossbow, decision to the releasing of a trigger.
Okay, let's break that down.
Think about that image physically. When you bend a crossbow, you're doing work. You're pulling that string back against immense tension.
Okay.
That's potential energy. It's all preparation. It's positioning. You are doing the work to create a situation where energy is stored up and ready to go.
But importantly, nothing is actually flying through the air yet.
Not a thing.
To an outsider, it might look like you're just standing still.
You look static, but you're holding incredible power. And you don't run around the battlefield with the bow already drawn, just hoping to hit something.
No, that would be exhausting. And probably dangerous.
You hold the tension, you wait, and then the decision, the action, is just the flick of a trigger.
Such a tiny movement.
A micro movement.
Yeah.
But because of all that stored energy, that tiny movement releases a massive focused force.
I feel like a lot of us are doing the opposite. We're running around trying to throw the arrow with our bare hands.
That is a great way to put it. We're trying to throw the arrow by hand that is forcing. It's messy, it's inaccurate, and it doesn't go very far.
Instead of using the mechanical advantage of the crossbow.
Which is momentum.
So the crossbow is the structure we build. It's all the prep work. But then we have the trigger, the release, and that relies entirely on timing.
100%.
Sun Tzu has another animal metaphor for this part. The falcon.
The falcon, yes. He writes that the quality of decision is like the well-timed swoop of a falcon, which enables it to strike and destroy its victim.
Now, I'm not an ornithologist, but I know a falcon isn't a lion. It isn't winning because it's heavy.
Right. It's not a bear. It's not going to win in a wrestling match. Biologically, is a falcon stronger than its prey? Maybe a little, but not enough to win on brute strength alone. It relies on speed and the angle of its attack.
It's a physics equation all over again. Force equals mass times acceleration.
It strikes and destroys because of timing. It dives at the precise moment the target is vulnerable, and gravity plus aerodynamics multiplies its force.
And that's the modern application right there. Timing changes the cost of effort.
Exactly. If the falcon swoops too early, the prey sees it and escapes. The energy of the dive is completely wasted.
You have to fly all the way back up and start over. That's expensive.
Very expensive. And if it swoops too late,
opportunity's gone. The mouse is in the hole.
Gone. But at the perfect moment, the strike is efficient. It looks effortless because the timing did all the heavy lifting.
This reminds me of that source we have from Ecclesiastes. For everything there is a season.
It's the exact same principle, just from a completely different tradition. You don't plant seeds in the winter.
Right.
I don't care how hard you work. I don't care how much you hustle. If you plant seeds in frozen ground, you get nothing. The cost of growing food in winter is infinite. It's impossible.
You're fighting the earth itself.
But if you wait for spring, the right timing, the soil does half the work for you. The sun does the work for you.
So momentum isn't just about moving fast. It's about syncing up with the environment. It's about waiting for that downhill slope to appear.
Precisely. And this is where it gets really interesting because Sun Tzu talks about tactical dispositions. He says the good fighters of old first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat
Okay.
and then waited for an opportunity of defeating the enemy.
They waited. Now, that sounds passive, especially in our culture where waiting feels like wasting time.
It does.
But I think he means it in a very active sense.
It is very active. It's active waiting. You're bending the crossbow. You are positioning the stone. You're removing your own internal friction so that when the moment arrives, you can move instantly.
You're not checking Instagram. You're calibrating.
Exactly.
Okay, so we understand the physics now. Forcing is expensive. Momentum is about positioning and timing. We want to be the falcon, not the guy throwing arrows by hand.
Right.
But how do we actually do this? How do I build this crossbow in my day-to-day life? We have 3 levers from the research that we are going to pull on.
These are practical ways to sort of manufacture momentum, to build the slope yourself.
Okay, let's look at lever 1. Break work into small starting steps. This comes from Sun Tzu's line about dividing up numbers.
Right. Sun Tzu says the control of a large force is the same principle as the control of a few men. It is merely a question of dividing up their numbers. He also talks about signs and signals.
So how do we move a large force in our lives?
Yeah.
Let's say I have a massive career change I need to make, or I'm trying to write a book that feels like 100,000 soldiers I cannot control.
It feels like a mob, a
Yeah.
chaotic mess.
Yeah.
And you move it by dividing it. If you look at 100,000 soldiers as one giant blob, it's impossible to manage. It's overwhelming.
Right.
But if you break them into battalions and then companies and then squads, you're suddenly just giving orders to a few commanders. It's manageable.
And the modern science on this backs it up completely. We have this concept of cognitive offloading or chunking.
Yes. This is crucial for understanding why we procrastinate.
Hmm.
Our working memory is very limited.
Mm-hmm.
We can only hold a few chunks of information at once. The classic number is about 7 plus or minus 2.
Okay.
So when a project feels heavy, or when you feel that paralysis of, I don't know where to start, it's usually not because the task is physically impossible. It's because it's too big for your working memory.
It's a large force that hasn't been divided up.
Precisely. So the friction is actually mental. It's cognitive load.
I see.
Your brain looks at, write a book, and it just says, error. Too big, cannot compute. And it shuts down.
So you break it down.
You break it down.
Yeah.
And you keep breaking it down until the first step is so small that it feels effortless.
Yeah.
You make the first step a squad instead of an army.
I love the idea that if a task feels hard, it's not actually too hard, it's just too big. That's a reframing that changes everything.
It really does. If write the report feels heavy, break it down. The first step is open the laptop.
That's a tiny step.
Create a new document.
Yeah.
Tiny step. Type the title. Tiny step. And suddenly, you're moving. The stone is rolling.
You're basically tricking your brain into motion.
You're bypassing the brain's resistance to large forces by presenting it with a small force it can easily handle.
Okay, that leads us perfectly into lever 2. Remove friction before pushing.
This connects back to that line in Sun Tzu about weak points and strong.
Right. He talks about striking like a grindstone against an egg.
It's a violent image, but
Yeah.
it's very clear. You want your energy to be the grindstone and the obstacle to be the egg. You apply your strength against the enemy's weakness.
And in modern terms, we'd look at this as environment design. This is huge in behavioral science right now, with people like James Clear and B.J. Fogg.
The whole idea is, don't push the stone on flat ground. Build a slope.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to rely on willpower to overcome obstacles, you're forcing. You're spending that silver we talked about. The smarter strategy is to remove the obstacles before you apply effort.
Can you give us a concrete example of what that looks like?
Sure. Let's say you want to work out in the morning. The forcing method, the expensive way, is to wake up, groggy, cold, and then try to summon the willpower to find your clothes, find your shoes, make decisions.
That is a battle. It's high friction. You're fighting yourself.
You're fighting yourself uphill. And usually, the bed wins that fight.
The bed always wins.
The momentum method removing friction is to lay out your clothes the night before. Put your shoes right by the bed. Maybe even sleep in your gym shorts if you have to.
You're removing all the decision points.
You are smoothing the slope so that when you wake up, falling into the workout is actually easier than not doing it.
Sun Tzu has a name for this, right? Standing on the defensive.
He does. He says you secure yourself against defeat first. By prepping your environment, you're ensuring that defeat, in this case, skipping the workout, is much harder to achieve.
So you're making success the default.
You're making invincibility a structural condition, not a mental effort.
I found a great story in the research about this. The incorruptible cashier.
Ah, yes. Patterson and the cash register. This is a classic example of using structural friction.
Yeah, so back in the late 19th century, theft by employees was a massive problem in retail. It was just too easy to pocket the cash. And shop owners would try to force honesty. They'd yell, they would threaten, they'd try to hire good people.
But the friction was all wrong. The slope was pointing toward theft.
Yeah.
It was the easier path.
Exactly. Then this guy, Ritty, invents the mechanical cash register. He called it the incorruptible cashier. It locked the drawer.
Right.
You had to ring up a sale to open it. And it made this loud bell sound so everyone in the store heard it when the drawer opened.
It completely changed the environment. It made theft uphill and honesty downhill.
And this guy, Patterson, who ran a saloon, he bought 2 of them, and theft just disappeared overnight.
And he didn't give a motivational speech. He didn't hustle his employees into being honest.
He just changed the machine. He removed the friction of suspicion and he added the friction of the lock.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
He engineered the outcome.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do with our own momentum. Stop trying to be a better person through sheer will and start building a better machine for your life.
So if you want to stop scrolling on your phone, don't just try harder.
No. Put the phone in a lockbox, change the machine.
Okay, lever 3. Coordinate people and tools.
Sun Tzu calls this combined energy.
He has this great line about how when you utilize combined energy, your fighting men become like rolling logs.
Yes, for it is the nature of a log or stone to remain motionless on level ground and to move when on a slope. But there's a nuance here about logs versus stones.
Okay.
A square stone stops. A round stone rolls. But logs roll if they're aligned.
And if they're all crooked?
They jam.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing grinds to a halt. The point here is that momentum is rarely a solo sport. Even if you're working alone, you're part of a system.
You're coordinating with your tools, your environment, maybe your family, your team.
Exactly. If your signs and signals, your communication, your tools are unclear, people get confused. Confusion is friction. It stops the log from rolling.
So coordinating just means getting everyone and everything aligned.
It means aligning the vectors. If you're pushing the log north and your colleague is pushing south, you have zero momentum, even if you're both working incredibly hard.
You're just canceling each other out.
And you're wasting a ton of silver. You have to align the arrows. When the people, the tools, and the environment all point in the same direction, the result is that torrent Sun Tzu talks about.
Yeah.
It becomes unstoppable.
Okay, I want to get really concrete with this. We've talked theory physics, falcons, crossbows. Let's talk practice. We have 3 applied examples to walk through: work, relationships, and habits.
Let's do it. Let's apply the framework.
Example 1, work. Let's say you've got a massive project. It is looming over you. It feels overwhelming. You're procrastinating. How do we apply momentum here?
Okay, let's apply the levers. First, the start step. Do not try to finish the project.
No.
Your objective is not finish the report. Your objective is open the document.
We're dividing the numbers, making it a tiny squad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're lowering the barrier to entry so low you can't fail. Then, remove blockers. This is the environment design piece.
Okay.
Close all the other tabs. Put your phone in another room. Digital friction is the #1 killer of work momentum.
Every notification is a rock in the road.
It stops your rolling stone instantly. It just kills the kinetic energy.
What about the falcon aspect, the timing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Here, I'd say you ship small. You create a loop of motion.
What do you mean by that?
Instead of waiting 3 weeks to show anyone your work, which is that long, slow, expensive uphill battle, send a draft outline to a colleague today.
Oh, I see.
Get feedback. That response is energy. It's a little push forward. It creates a feedback loop that keeps you moving.
And finally,
Build pace. Focus on consistency over intensity. Sun Tzu warns against stupid haste. Don't pull an all-nighter and then crash for 3 days.
let's stop and go.
It's the enemy of momentum. Work for 45 minutes, take a break, work another 45, keep the rhythm smooth.
I love that. So for work, start small, remove blockers. Okay, example 2, relationships. This one's tricky. How do you use physics to resolve a conflict without blowing it up?
This is where the concept of energy becomes very emotional. The scenario is, you need to have a tough conversation. Maybe you're angry. Maybe your partner is angry.
And the usual instinct is just to vent. We want to release the arrow immediately because that tension feels uncomfortable.
Right. We want to fire the crossbow wildly.
Huh?
But remember, the cost of silver. Anger is expensive. Marcus Aurelius has this great line about how the consequences of anger are often far more grievous than the causes of it.
So the explosion causes more damage than the thing we are even exploding about.
Exactly. So how do you position yourself? The key is timing.
Timing.
This is crucial. Sun Tzu says, don't attack when the enemy's spirit is keen. In relationships, don't argue when spirits are keen, which usually means when someone is angry, hungry, or stressed out.
The HALT acronym. Right. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
That's the one. Never have a serious conversation when you're in one of those states. Wait for the thoughts turn homeward moment, that moment of relaxation.
You choose a calm moment. That's positioning.
You're waiting for the slope to be in your favor. And then you think about the indirect method Sun Tzu mentions.
How does that apply?
Soften your tone. The book of Proverbs says, a gentle answer turns away wrath. If you come in with a direct attack, blaming, shouting, you create massive resistance. You're just hitting a wall.
Right.
But if you come in indirectly with a soft tone, asking questions, seeking to understand, you go around the wall. You remove the friction.
So for relationships, calm timing, soft tone. Avoid the heat.
Because friction stops momentum. Anger is friction. If you can repair early before the friction becomes a wall, you keep the relationship rolling.
Okay, example 3, habits. Trying to build a new routine, like getting healthy.
We touched on this with the gym clothes, but let's go deeper. The scenario is you want to become a healthy person.
But right now, you identify as a couch person.
Exactly. So first lever, tiny step. Make the first step so small you cannot say no. This is pure BJ Fogg, tiny habits.
Okay.
Don't say, I'm going to do 50 push-ups. Say, I'm going to do 1 push-up.
1 push-up, that feels, I don't know, useless.
It feels useless physically, but it is vital structurally. 1. Because the victory isn't the muscle growth yet. The victory is the motion.
You're establishing the habit of showing up.
You're proving to yourself that you are the kind of person who does push-ups. You are getting the stone to roll just 1 inch.
Just an inch.
Okay. And then reduce friction. Prime the environment. We talked about the clothes, but also keep the baseline easy on low-energy days.
This is so important because some days you just don't have it in you.
And those are the days that kill momentum for most people. If your rule is, I must run 5 miles, and you're sick or tired, you quit. And stopping is a disaster for momentum.
So what's the fix?
If your rule is, I must put on my running shoes, you can do that even on a bad day. You protect the chain of consistency, you keep the stone rolling, even if it's very, very slow.
So for habits, tiny steps, low friction.
It's really about identity. James Clear talks about this. I'm an athlete. It's a more powerful identity than I have to run. When you take these tiny steps, you're casting a vote for that new identity.
I really like that. It makes it feel much more doable. But I want to talk about the guardrails here. Because when people hear momentum, I think they sometimes imagine this manic, high-energy, let's go, let's go, let's go kind of hype.
Yes, and that is dangerous. That's not momentum, that is mania.
So what is momentum not? Let's clear up some of those misconceptions.
First, it is not hype. Sun Tzu is very clear about this. He says, no ruler should put troops into the field merely to gratify his own spleen. No general should fight a battle simply out of pique.
Out of pique. That's an old school way of saying don't fight just because you're annoyed.
Or excited or emotional. You don't act because you feel pumped up. You act because the calculation says it is time. Momentum is cold, not hot.
It's cool. It's disciplined.
Also, it is not rushing. Sun Tzu uses the phrase, stupid haste.
Stupid haste. I feel a little attacked by that phrase.
We all do. Rushing creates mistakes. Mistakes create friction. If you rush to send an email and you forget the attachment, you now have to send a second email apologizing.
You've just doubled your work.
And you look unprofessional. That is negative momentum. True momentum is smooth and controlled.
And the third thing, it's not.
It is not avoidance. Waiting for the right time does not mean waiting forever. It is not procrastination disguised as strategy.
That is a trap I know I fall into. Oh, I'm just positioning myself. No, I'm just watching TV.
Exactly. The falcon does swoop. The crossbow does release. You have to pull the trigger. Momentum is waiting for the right moment, not just hiding from any moment.
Okay, so based on that, we've identified 5 common mistakes people make. Let's run through these quickly with the fixes.
Good idea. Mistake 1. Relying on willpower. We have hammered this, but it bears repeating. Willpower is a battery. It runs out.
So the fix?
The fix is to design the environment, build the slope, make good choices easy.
Okay, mistake 2.
Mistake 2, acting out of season, trying to force a harvest in winter.
And the fix for that.
You wait for the kairos.
Yeah.
That's the Greek word for the opportune moment. You learn to see it.
Mistake 3, ignoring friction, pushing the cart with the brake on.
This is huge. So many people just push harder. The fix is to stop. Get out of the cart. Take the rock out from under the wheel. Then push.
It feels like you're losing time, but you'll make it up instantly.
Instantly. Okay, mistake 4, inconsistency, all that stopping and starting.
The fix must be to protect the pace.
Exactly. Don't stop moving, even if you move slowly. A slow roll is still momentum. A dead stop requires massive energy to restart.
And the final one, mistake 5.
Emotional decision-making. Acting because you're angry or excited or impatient.
The fix here is to be the sovereign mind.
That's the Stoic ideal. You control your judgment. You are the commander in the temple making calm calculations, not the soldier getting swept up in the panic of the battle.
This has been heavy, but in a good way. I feel like we have really unpacked a lot here. I want to make sure we leave everyone with something concrete they can use. We promised a guided exercise, the momentum plan.
Yes, this is a mental template you can use for any project, any goal. You can write this down or just do it in your head with us right now.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's walk through it. Step 1.
Step 1. Name the objective in one sentence. Be specific, not get healthy, but run a 5K.
Not work harder, but finish the quarterly report.
Exactly. Got it. Okay, step 2. Identify the friction point that slows you down.
What's in the way?
Yeah. Is it your phone? Is it a messy desk? Is it a lack of information? Be really honest.
So identify the rock. Okay, step 3.
Step 3. Choose the smallest start step. What can be done in 2 minutes? And I mean literally 2 minutes. If it takes 5, it is too big.
Just 2 minutes. Got it. Step 4.
Step 4. Remove one blocker before you push. Clear the path. Take the phone out of the room. Close the door. Do it before you start the work.
Okay, step 5.
Step 5. Choose the best moment to act. Look at your day. When is your energy high? When is the world quiet? Don't schedule your deep work during your chaotic staff meeting. Find the slope.
Find the slope. Step 6.
Step 6. Set one boundary that protects your pace. This is so important to prevent burnout. When do you stop?
So I will write for 30 minutes and then I stop.
Perfect. And finally, step 7. Choose one proof action you will do today.
Not tomorrow.
Today. Prove to yourself right now that the stone can roll.
That's powerful. It takes this huge abstract concept of momentum and turns it into a simple checklist.
That's the goal. Strategy has to become tactics.
All right, we are coming to the end of our discussion. Let's recap what we've learned. We've got 7 bullets here to really lock this in.
Let's run them down. 1. Momentum makes progress easier than starting. It's the physics of the downhill slope.
2. Forcing is expensive. Positioning is efficient. Save your silver.
3. Timing changes the cost of your effort. Strike like the falcon.
4. Break big things into small signals. Divide the numbers.
5. Remove friction before applying force. Move the grindstone away from the wall.
6. Coordinate your resources to roll like a stone or like aligned logs.
And 7. Protect your pace with boundaries. Consistency beats intensity every time.
That is a solid toolkit, and it sets us up perfectly for our next discussion.
It does. Because once you have momentum, once you are moving, the next question is where to direct that energy.
So next time, we are covering episode 5, Strength and Weakness, Where to Apply Force.
We're going to look at this concept of emptiness and fullness, how to find the vacuum in an enemy's defense, or in the market, or in a problem you're trying to solve.
And strike that emptiness with your fullness.
Exactly. It's all about maximum impact for minimum effort.
I cannot wait for that one. Momentum is how you move. Strength and weakness is where you hit.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, this has been a real pleasure. I feel like I need to go clear off my desk and hide my phone right now.
Go get that stone rolling.
Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.